So the quarterback situation that you just mentioned, and the perfect opportunity you would think to get J.J. McCarthy a ton of reps. So I'll lay it out like this. Cade McNamara has done a capable job, a good job. He's not been outstanding. Give him a B. He can run the offense, make most of the throws, has missed on some downfield shots. Everyone will, but maybe he's missed on too many. All right, hasn't turned the ball over. That's key in this offense in particular, any offense, but especially this offense, leaning on the running game. Okay. I got to think that the reasonable objective for this football team is to win the Big Ten Eastern Division. Don't worry about what you're going to do in the championship game or if you're going to get selected for a playoff or whatever. But also don't settle for, we went 2-4 last year. Let's go 9-3, and that's good. They can win the division. Okay. Can Cade McNamara win the division? So they play Michigan State in a couple weeks. Tough opponent. Michigan's better. They should win, but it wouldn't shock anyone if they lost the game, especially on the road. They've got Penn State. A lot is going to hinge on Sean Clifford's availability there. If Sean Clifford plays, based on what we know right now, I think it's reasonable to think that's a toss-up. Were they playing this year?
They're at Penn State.
At Penn State. So maybe less than a toss-up, but a 55-45 situation there. And then Ohio State will save them to the end because Cade McNamara could start for this team. They could roll into the game at 11-0. And he could still be playing the same Cade McNamara football that he's playing right now and probably will be. And they beat Michigan State 27-17, and they go into Happy Valley, and this would be a tremendous win, but they win 27-24, and they're playing Ohio State, and they may not have the explosiveness that they need. So before I leave it in your hands, Justin, on the flip side, J.J. McCarthy gives you all this upside. Plus, you get him prepared, not that you should be thinking next year, but if he plays in those kind of games, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, wow, you know what you really got for 2022. But in addition to that, is his floor, because he's gotten into these games, and I credit Harbaugh in Michigan for doing with J.J. McCarthy what we saw, the classic example, Taquan Roberson in Penn State. He was a deer in headlights. Their offense was nothing. He just was incapable, and they lost a big game because of it. So McCarthy's ready to roll to a certain extent. He can run the offense. He's played at meaningful snaps against good teams. Is his floor that much lower than Cade McNamara, where you don't say, put him in, let him play, let him be the starter? Or is that does that send a bad message to the team that we're benching Cade McNamara? He's done the job, or are they waiting for it's a 7-7 game, or they're down 13-7 at half against Michigan State and the offense isn't doing much, so now's the time to make the switch?
I think you just spelled out what keeps Jim Harbaugh up at night every single night of this season. I think it's a conundrum that he doesn't know what to do, quite honestly, because in general, Jim Harbaugh has been very loyal to his guys, specifically his quarterback in the past. And as you said, Cade McNamara has not done anything to get pulled. He has not made mistakes. He has not done anything fantastic. He has made a couple, missed a couple throws, but they're by a foot, or something like that. It's not like Joe Milton and he's chucking the ball 30 yards over his head. So I think for him, and then you add in that we've had a Michigan tight end, a punter, their starting center on our podcast. Every single one of them has said Cade McNamara is the best leader and I would follow him into war. So I think that is the big factor right now that says Jim Harbaugh cannot consciously pull that guy that's leading his offense and not making mistakes and put in the younger talented guy, which, by the way, it's a tough decision. How many teams have we seen make that decision? Nick Saban in the national championship? How many? It's like it doesn't happen that often that it's this like simple decision to make and it's always going to work out. So it's this really tough decision. Now, when we look at JJ and what he brings to the table, I don't think his floor is lower than Cade McNamara's for any type of reason. He also has leadership qualities that as a 19-year-old, you don't see often at the quarterback position. He comes out there. He's a guy that is not like complaining that he's not getting in, but he's ready to go. He leads the team. People look up to him. He's coming off the bus at 4:30 in the morning from Nebraska and bringing guys out to practice. So those characteristics are all there for JJ as well. And then you put together his arm, his running ability that Cade McNamara very much does not have. And that's why JJ has gotten in. I think that JJ is the play here, but it's just really hard to say that because Cade, even if Cade had 4 or 5 picks right now, instead of just 1, then it's easy to say, or maybe 3 or 4. But because he hasn't done that, I think Jim Harbaugh, with the way he's done things in the past and how he's still Jim Harbaugh, he's going to stick with Cade McNamara. So I do think that, to wrap this up, exactly what you said is going to happen for JJ to take control. Cade is going to have to make some mistakes, or the offense is just completely sputtering against MSU or against Penn State on the road, or one of those games where they need some type of spark and they put in JJ and he makes that big play. And it's this epiphany moment where Jim Harbaugh says, that was what we've been waiting for. I think we got to go for it.
Yeah, because what you don't want, although this is a best case scenario, worst case scenario at the same time, is you get by Michigan State and Penn State, capable, solid wins. McNamara is fine. You get to Ohio State and it's a blitzkrieg in the first half and he throws a couple picks and it's 28-7 at half.
And then you're putting JJ in and it's like, that's a no-win situation for JJ. He's got to do the unthinkable in order to win that ball game, So I totally agree with you. And I agree with you with a couple things. I agree with you that Jim Harbaugh, credit to him for getting him in the football in these games early and in meaningful snaps. It's been fantastic to see in the Penn State situation was definitely, that was like, wow, Jim Harbaugh did this because of that exact situation. And so even if Cade McNamara doesn't get hurt, there may be a situation where they need to call on JJ to make something happen on the offense. And I do think he'll be ready. So I would not doubt one bit that in the Michigan State game, whether it's like Cade struggling himself or just the offense, like they're not scoring or the Michigan State's defense is stopping the run and they have to throw, they may throw JJ in and all of a sudden it's a Chad Henne, Drew Henson type situation. That was not correct, but Tom Brady. Drew Henson situation.
What happened to that Brady guy, by the way?
That Brady is somehow still the greatest player in football at 44 years old. But it might be that situation in the MSU game, and they might have some tricks up their sleeve that they've been waiting to reveal for a big game like MSU to win, that JJ might be the guy for.